All right, John.
Mark, how are you? Yes.
Where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Actually, I was born in Sacramento. I lived there for 1 year, moved to Studio City for a year, and then was raised south of the boulevard in Sherman Oaks, California. Um, in a very nice neighborhood that some of my neighbors were Catherine Bach of Dukes of Hazzard. So it was quite a eclectic upbringing, you could say. School was a lot of actors at that time and their kids and a lot of musicians. So I went to school with all sons of so many different, you know, actors and musicians through the years of, you know, schoolmates were like Dweezil Zappa or, you know, Jake Busey, Gary Busey's son, you know, people like that. So it was a time, I'd say, when I was probably 8 years old. My brother's 6 years older than me, and 9 or so. He started to get into smoking pot, and of course, my friends and I were all curious about it, but we didn't know how to, you know. And then my brother realized this one day, so he turned me on to some very, very good pot. And so then it was this one guy that lived on our street. He was the oldest. His name was John Tapo, and we thought, like, you know, my God, this guy, you know, he moved out from his house and moved into the garage and made this, he had this party room. It was crazy. And to get in there, you cut up the pot really fine and smush it in a 2-hit bowl, and you had to clear that whole thing in one hit to hang out there. So I was able to do that, and they had to hose me off that night. I was so hallucinating. And but both my parents being from Greece, they didn't know anything about drugs. They had no idea what pot was or anything of anything was. So I had met a friend of mine named Russ Laffey, and he was my best friend at the time, by 9, 10 years old. And I remember one time when I was 10, he called me up and he said, "Hey, I found my mom's boyfriend's cocaine and Quaalude supply," you know, and I said, "Oh, great, I'll be right over." So I tell my brother, like, "Hey, I'm going over to Russ's house to do a bunch of cocaine." And he's like, "All right, be safe." That's all he said. Um, well, I get over there and Russ pulls out this bag that, I mean, must have been a lot of cocaine, I'd have to say. Probably, if I were to think about it, I would say at least an ounce, looking back. He goes, "I took 15 Quaaludes, so here, catch up with me." So I took 9. And this is after school.
At what age?
This is after school.
At what age?
10 years old. He was 11. And Bugs Bunny's on, you know, cartoons, you're after school watching cartoons. And I'm making out these lines on the glass table. And I didn't know that you had to chop the stuff, you know. So I'm making out these lines that are humongous. And we're throwing these huge rocks, you know. And I mean, next thing we know, it's nighttime. I don't know, we end up in his sister's room. And he's like tunnel vision, like a million miles away. And I got this line on, I'm like, "Russ, Russ, 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 do you want the last line? He's like, "No, no, no, I'm okay. My mom's boyfriend's home. And the mom's boyfriend comes in and he looks at us because he's looking for a stash, and he didn't say anything. We just left, I guess. I don't know what happened. All I know is that we had walked 5 blocks to my house on Ventura Boulevard. This must be at probably 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. You have people coming home from work, and we're punching each other, throwing each other into the windows of every store down Ventura Boulevard in Sherman Oaks. Nobody goes, here's a 10 and 11-year-old kid that look out of their mind. We turn on my street, and my friend Russ must have been walking like this. He was on Quaalude so much. And I was going, dun, 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 dun. And I thought I was running like a $6 million man so fast. My brother is at the end of the street. Our house is towards the end. And he took one look and he said, "Oh my fucking God." You know, he had to get rid of the neighbors. So he tried locking us in our garage, which was downstairs. Our house, we had stairs that led up to this really nice house in Sherman Oaks. And we got out of there. And so he was very athletic. He used to ride his bike for like 20 miles a day. So he got on his 10 speed. He couldn't find us anywhere. We walked down Ventura Boulevard, punching each other, throwing each other into parked cars from Hazeltine, and if anybody knows Ventura Boulevard, all the way to Coldwater Canyon, which is a very long walk. And we get to a friend of his house, and the babysitter of his friend comes out and sees us, and she probably flipped a gourd. I mean, she probably went, oh my God. Well, my friend Russ just went into withdrawal, he overdosed right there. He was throwing up, he was going into convulsions. So she called an ambulance for him, and she trying to get my number out of me to call my mother, and I couldn't say it. And she's like, I can sing it. So I think I did something like 7, 8. And she's like 7, 8. I'm like 3, 1. You know, about an hour. I don't know how long it took, but I got it out. 7, 8, 3, 1, 5, 6, 8. My mom shows up, and she goes, "Can you walk to the car?" And I say, "Sure." And I take one step forward, and I just fall straight back, hit the ground. She, with the babysitter, I guess, puts me in the car. They drive me back to my house. And I don't know how I made it upstairs. I guess my brother must have helped me. My dad's home by this time. He's a very conservative man, you could say, extremely conservative. But my brother goes, "I got John." And my parents said, okay. And they just went to the den and watched TV and didn't think a second thought about it. They probably had no idea what was going on. So my brother did not know what to do with me. And by that time, I had been playing guitar since I was 7. So I was very into playing guitar. And so my brother made me play Jimi Hendrix's Purple Haze all night long. And he said every time I got this look in my face, like this devilish look, or I was getting out there, he'd slap me as hard as he could, just slap. And keep playing Purple Haze. So I kept playing, you know, dun, 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 slap. And the next morning, I got up to go to school, and I was still, I think that entire week, out of my friggin' mind. I can't remember anything of even going to school or even how I got through that. I have no clue. So that was the first introduction to, I'd say, harder drugs at 10 years old. So by that point, I'd say that I was much more interested in experimenting with other substances at that point. I wanted to try acid. I wanted to try, you know, this, because acid sounded cool to me, you know, like blue dragon, like you're going to see a blue dragon or something. I mean, it's a kid's mind, you know. And because I was maybe a little hung out with a 6-year-old brother and all his friends, and my brother was a dealer at his high school, Notre Dame High School. So this is already, got another light, that would be great. Notre Dame High School, so he was selling pot to all his friends. And so I basically, by the time I was in high school, my friend that happened with, oh, thank you very much. His mother, she was doing a lot of cocaine herself, and smoking cocaine became a big thing. So when we were, I'd say, he was 15, I was 14, we would take her bank card and clear her bank out of all the money to buy coke. So she stopped that by trying to maintain us on a 0.5 gram day habit. But we would freebase with her I would tell my parents, I'm going to go sleep over at Russ's house. Oh, okay, no problem. And we'd go over to Russ's house, and his mom, Connie, would cook the cocaine up, and we were freebasing, and this went on all through high school. And we had, oh boy, we smoked a lot of cocaine, I'd have to say, at that time. So I had quite a habit going.
This is freebase, not crack.
No, this is freebasing it.
Before crack took off.
Yeah, before crack took off. My dad had moved up in the executive world, where now he was working for running an insurance company that he was president of, where he was, we were in the $1 million range of the family at that point. So my dad's wallet he'd put above the refrigerator at night, and my mom would put her purse there, and each of them would have probably about $2,000, $3,000 in there. I'd just go and reach in there, and I'd take that money out, and I'd go score. And my dad would just go, to my mom, oh, Helen, I'm short, can you go to the bank and pull me out another $5,000? They didn't think anything of it. They didn't even notice it going on like that. So this went on all the way through art college, where I was just doing massive amounts of that. And that soon led to one of the people I was buying it from was heroin. They decided to, turn me on to that. And I thought, this drug made me ill when I first did it. I mean, it's like rat poison. I snorted it, I throwing up. But I thought, my guitar heroes all did this, and I thought, well, this is going to make you a better player. I mean, Jimmy Page and, Keith Richards and stuff. I mean, there's got to be something behind it, the reason why they're doing this type of stuff. Then turned on to slowly playing around with that for quite a few years. I got into a band when I was 18. I formed a band, and we got the singer, and she knew about that because she was signed to XXX Records with Jane's Addiction at the time, with the Chili Peppers in a band called Love Dog, all-girl punk band that was very big. Played Scream, which was a very big club in downtown LA. They played big shows, so her boyfriend auditioned for us as a keyboard player. He ended up being a keyboard player for the Wallflowers, and now is with the Foo Fighters. So she said, no heroin, anybody on heroin? So I stopped for that point. And we got a record deal that didn't go through. Ended up playing more and more. I played with a few acts. Then it all stopped, and I started working as a scenic artist. And then cocaine got replaced with crystal meth. I got turned on to that, and that put cocaine aside. It made that seem like nothing. Speed was back then unbelievably good and unbelievably strong. And I mean, you do a little bit, you're flying for days. And I had a lot of work. I was getting paid $20,000 for murals I was doing. So I'd be up for 2 weeks working as many jobs as I could and running around and all of this. And at 30 years old, my dad finally got hip to what was going on. And he decided that at that point, he was going to get me clean. I seem to have screwed up my whole career at that point because I had a job doing these blue sky and cloud ceilings in this big mansion in Beverly Hills, and we were subcontracted with a lot of other people, and they just weren't paying me my second payment. And it got to be where it was a lawsuit situation. So I went to my dad. I said, hey, Dad, could you help me out with this? And I thought, this would be great. He can help me out with this. And And I had this, this time this heroin problem now. I'm strung out. So I thought, okay, I'll tell my dad, and maybe this is the right thing to do. Well, it didn't turn out to be the right thing to do. I don't know many 31-year-olds that get grounded by their fathers, but I did. So I went through a horrible period of time working different jobs for fine art packing houses and trying to keep this heroin habit. So I decided to go to a methadone clinic, and they started me on a maintenance program. And I had no idea what that meant at the time. And you're supposed to even get on maintenance, you're supposed to have proof that you've done heroin or been on methadone or something for a year. Well, I tried a detox program for 1 day, 6 months earlier. And they said, we're just going to slide on that. We're just going to, let you go ahead and get on the methadone maintenance program. How many milligrams do you want to start on? I go, I don't know. What should I start on? They said, we suggest 80. I'll put it this way. 5 milligrams of methadone is incredibly strong. 80 milligrams to get on methadone, the chances of getting off of that is not. You're going to be on that for life. It's so powerful. It's overpowers heroin. It overpowered, heroin couldn't even get me high anymore. I had started a Xanax, Klonopin, Soma addiction, because that would be the only thing that would work with that. And for 15 years, I was in that clinic every morning, going there between 5 and 7 for the hours they were open to get my dose of methadone. And one time I missed it at Christmas time, and if you miss it for 3 days, you have to have a doctor see you to get restarted on it again. And well, it was Christmas time. He was out of town. I went 9 days. It was probably the worst withdrawal. I think I can't even. I blacked out most of it. It's so horrible. It was unfathomable. Well, my father ended up dying of cancer in 2003, and at that point, we got some life insurance money of his. So I went to go do what they call a rapid detox at the White Clinic. Now, to do heroin, it's a 1-day event. If you're on methadone, it's a 3-day event. It costs $18,000. And what they do is they take you to this hospital. They put you on a morphine drip the minute you get in there. And then when you're ready to do the rapid detox, they take you and they put you under anesthesia. They put a tube down your throat, strap you to a table, and fill your stomach full of naltrexone, which is an anti-opiate. Like if you use it, it makes you sick. So that all your withdrawals that would happen over a year or 2 years happen in 6 hours. So for 6 hours, supposedly they had 5 black guys holding me down. I broke the straps. A mess. All I know is I woke up in a tub and up to my neck in diarrhea, just completely. And they gave me vitamins the whole week. They said, you need to cleanse your system. It's, you really need to cleanse. And I had the runs all week. I thought I cleansed the system. I had no idea that, this drug backs you up quite a bit. So this nurse comes out, he cleans me up, and this happens 7 more times. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is, a lot. And I am feeling everything like so sensitive that so it's like, time to take a shower. I'm like, shower, great, a shower. They wheel me to the shower, and it's like nails hitting me. I was like getting a shower of nails. And then they took me outside in the sun, and that might as well has been like a ray gun shooting me in the eyes. I I was like, get me out of the fucking sun. If you can fucking do this, anything. And I get back to my room, and I must have thought that it was a smart thing to do to call every friend's mother that I knew and say that I was clean at 3 a.m. Just seemed like a smart thing to do at the time, I think. All I know is my brother and my mom came to pick me up. My brother thought I lost my mind. He thought that whatever process they did, that I was crazy. And they told me, you're as clean as the day you're born, by the way. There's not a trace of it in your bones, in your marrow, nowhere. You're as clean as you can ever be. And you just take this naltrexone every day. You won't have any cravings, and make sure that you did clean your house of all heroin, anything, of paraphernalia, right? Because if you come back, you will have a problem with that. And I thought I cleaned it well enough. Well, I came home and there must have been some foil with some heroin on it in a straw somewhere. I could smell that the minute I walked in the door. I started throwing up. Put me instantly into withdrawals. I was like, ugh! Mom, get that out, Cleared that out. So I stayed clean for a short while, and then I'd say, I don't know, after a year or so, I kind of laxed on taking this naltrexone. And one day, I had stopped taking it long enough where, like that, I needed to score heroin again. After not thinking about it for a year and a half, didn't have a craving in the world, didn't want it, couldn't stand the smell of it, and it made me throw up. I'd never touch it again. Stopped taking that, and all of a sudden, there was that need to get some. So I had bought a 20 bag of heroin. Went into my bathroom, locked the door, put it on some foil. I don't think I finished taking that hit. And all I know is that my mom broke in the bathroom, slapping me awake. I was pulled into a cold shower. It was like, that one half a hit or whatever was so strong that it was like, must have been like, first time I've ever, trying something that strong. And of course, that led to wanting to do it again. So I ended up doing that again. And of course, my father thought helping me out of a good way was doing that, was telling all my clients that I was on drugs. Because he never was a big fan of art or music or anything like that. The way he was raised in Greece it's another story for another day. So I got blacklisted. So I just became, as I told him, I said, well, I'm going to be the best heroin addict you've ever met. And my father and I went, clashed. That was before he died, but after he died, I just kept that going, that attitude. And I moved from smoking it to injecting it. And next thing I know, it's almost 35 years later that still to this day, I have a problem with it, and I try many different ways to get off. And it is after you hit 30 years of doing this drug, it creeps into you in ways that I can't explain. It's if it was easy for people, then everybody that ever got hooked on it would be able to get off of it. And everybody's reasoning for getting on that drug doesn't really matter. But once you venture into that, and whether you start off with doing Norcos or Oxycontins, and you can't get those anymore from a doctor, and you decide to try it, and you think that I don't need to use a needle, I could smoke this, and smoking it is okay, and you don't realize that you're signing on to a lifestyle of hell. It's the best way I can put it. It's an awful experience because this is not something that you can just use occasionally and say, oh, I'm fine. You need this to stay well. You don't get high anymore. You just do it to be normal. You do it so your nose doesn't run, so your eyes are not watering. You're not sneezing, machine gun sneezes in front of people and getting very sick. So, I had to do, 4 shots before I came here so my hand wouldn't be shaking. It would be smooth, so I wouldn't be like that. Just to be able to talk about it. Interesting enough. And I told my girlfriend, make me some more, because I might need some to even talk about this. And she had them ready for me, but the Uber came and I just said, fuck it, I'll rough it. So this is roughing it for me actually right now. My nose is a little bit runny and I'm a little bit, would be at the point when I get home, I'll, be running to that for sure.
How old are you now?
I'm 52 years old.
52. And do you have any hope of ever getting clean from, is it heroin or fentanyl now?
I don't use the fentanyl based stuff, and I have testers that you get from the needle exchange to not do that. I have been in this world for so long that I have been able to work so many different angles. I have done so much. I kept a moral standard that I wouldn't do certain things. I don't believe in stealing. I won't steal from anybody. I'm not a thief. I hate thieves. A lot of people, that's what they are first, and then they do heroin second. It seems to be their big thing is to steal from somebody or steal from some house or something. I would more or less got good connections at good prices and would be the middleman between people. You want to get an ounce, I can get it for you for $600. I could get the best heroin you've ever tried for less than $25 a gram, or $19 a gram. You cannot beat that. Just give me a little bit off the top. Now I'm on disability. I'm able to afford an amount that supplies me healthily at that. So to try to get off at this point, my girlfriend, I've been with her for 4 years. She was a heroin addict for many, many years. And with her life mate, who died it's now 6 years ago, his name was Jimmy Bain. He was a bass player for Dio. He never got off of it. He died while on tour on a boat. So she had gotten very sick, and she had COPD very bad, and she ended up kicking in the hospital. And she said, I never want to feel that again. So hasn't touched it since. So I get it, I give it to her, and she gives me my allotted amount each day, and she is trying to wean me down to a point where, and at that point, we really are kind of playing it by ear. We don't know what to do, really, to tell you the truth. I am not quite at the point where I want to stop, because there's certain things at 52 in my life that has not happened. I'm not particularly happy with where my life has gone and the things I've done and what I've not experienced and what I could have. So sometimes I just, want to just go into that nice warm place where I don't have to have any worries, any problems, no stress of nothing. I have a singer I've worked with for a long time. Her name's Morag, and she's fantastic. Her story is a story that is her own, and I won't even get into that. But she's very talented, but she will not want me to be on that in any way, shape, or form. She says that she can notice my playing is a tad off when I play. So if we're rehearsing, I won't do it when I'm with her. So if I go to her house for 3 days to play, I will just rough it. I will go through whatever I have to be able to write the songs we write, and play my parts the best I can. Whether my nose is dripping all over my guitar, I don't care, because I do play better if I'm not on it, and I do paint better if I'm not on it. Actually, I do everything better if I'm not on it. If I'm on it, my posture is different. My shoulders slouch in a different way. My language is a little different. If you know me well, my body movements, it's the littlest things, but you can pick up on it. You can see those things, and it's obvious as day. And I can see it in anybody else I come across. I know immediately. If I meet somebody, I know immediately if they're using or not. I can watch a television show and just go, that person's been using for 15 years at least. I mean, it's and it's an epidemic that's so funded by our government that they don't want anybody to get off heroin. It was a time when doctors could write scripts for you of Norcos or Oxycontin. Now, this hurt the cartel greatly, and even though the cartel may bring a lot of heroin over the border, 96% of it comes from Afghanistan. And it is funded by private armies with Gucci Kevlar in their beards, and they got the fields there, and they're for zinc, copper, and heroin. That's the main thing coming out of Afghanistan. That's why the war is never stopping there, because that heroin is coming there, and it's basically pure. It's the strongest heroin probably this city has ever seen. They have put runners out in every middle class or upper class neighborhood that you call somebody, and within 10 minutes, they're at your house delivering you whatever you want. That's how easy it is. You can just walk around and they will drive up next to you and they can tell you're a heroin addict and say, here's my number, call me. And I'll bring it to you. That's how crazy it is. So, and these doctors writing these scripts, the CDC, the government has gotten down so hard on them that they've lost their licenses and have all been charged because if people have OD'd, parents have got charges against them, and they've lost their licenses, and no longer can they write these. Any doctor you go to the hospital and you break your arm and you're in bad pain, they may give you some opiates, but they will not give you anything to take home with. No way. Not any hospital anywhere. And after 35 years of using it, I have found myself in a lot of hospitals. Shooting heroin leads to abscesses, leads to many types of infections that I have had. I got surgeries. At one point, I got called from Santa Monica, UCLA, saying that I had 85 emergency room visits in 1 year for abscesses to be lanced. And when I talk about an abscess being lanced, I'm talking about the size of like a softball on my arm. I mean, it's, I have gone into the hospital one time at 41. They gave me a 10% chance of living. I was in septic shock. And that's somebody calling me on my phone. And I don't know how I made it through. A lot of faith and a lot of belief in that there's a purpose for me and a reason for me to be on this planet, that I lived. It's the only way I can think that I got through that situation. One time I was in the hospital with a blood infection poisoning that they said, we have no antibiotic that can cure this infection. I'm sorry, you're going to be here till you die. It could take a week, it could take 2 years. I was there in ICU, temperature of probably, I know they put me on ice. I was hallucinating. I mean, I was on my deathbed. There was no chance I was coming out. I was 34 years old. And I had taken over my dad's business at that time as an insurance broker. I was a teacher and an insurance broker, and I had hired an employee who's Armenian, and she went to this church. And it's called Saint Nectarios, the Saint of Healing. There's a bone in Armenia that supposedly is 2,000 years old, and it secretes oil once a year, and they mix it with holy water. This church opened up, and they had this holy water, and she brought it into me. She came in my room. I thought she was the devil. She was half purple and half green in her face, and she was holding my dead cat who was alive. And the whole time she's doing the cross on my wrists with the oil, my forehead. I didn't know this. I thought she was, I thought it was maddening, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, she scared me. I thought she was the devil, and I didn't realize that my fever had reached a point where my blood was boiling. The next morning I woke up on the second floor, and I was out of there. What I would really point out about this is that it is not glorious. It is not anything that, whether it's, you know, to somebody who has lots of money and can afford it, to your person out here on the street that's suffering for it, it's probably the worst thing that can ever happen to somebody, and it's not something to be proud of, and in no way, I hope anything I said glorifies it in any way, because it's not a glorified thing at all. It's actually probably one of the worst things that can happen to you in your life, and it brings nothing but wreckage, and it'll tear up every relationship, love you have, if you don't, you know, eventually put this down. And I'm hoping that I will put this down. And at this point in time, I'm not there yet, but I have faith that I will get there. And I really hope that I do reach that point, because I don't want my ending to be that be my legacy, and that be, you know, of all the talent I have, kicked out the door because I just needed to have dope. So, you know, it's whether you do it for 2 years or 25, it takes its toll. And you know, drugs seem like a fun thing, but alcohol, drugs, whatever you want to use, it's just not going to take you anywhere but down. You know, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. And it's sad, because I see a lot of young people jumping into that because they haven't experienced anything in life. They want to experience, you know, something. And, you know, and it's the saddest thing to see somebody at 30 years old starting an addiction like that. And you just know, like, going, God, I'm 52, you have no idea what you just got yourself into. You just signed a deal with the devil. And that's what I consider it to be, pretty much. So, you know, that's the moral of the story of that. That's the best I can say. You know.
All right, John, thank you so much for sharing your story.
No problem.
Super interesting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.